A goalie's throat just got cut wide open by a skate, and for a moment, everyone thought they were about to watch a man die right there in front of thousands of fans. That was Clint Malarchuk in 1989. During a game between the Buffalo Sabres and the St. Louis Blues, a freak accident occurred when Steve Tuttle's skate blade sliced across Malarchuk's neck. He collapsed instantly, blood pouring so fast across the ice that players were crying and even turning away in horror. Fans sat in complete silence, convinced they had just seen the end. But then, out of nowhere, the team trainer vaulted over the boards and pressed his bare hand straight onto the wound, holding it shut. Doctors later said if he had been 1 minute late, Malarchuk would have been gone. Malarchuk himself admitted he could feel his life slipping away. This terrifying moment didn't just traumatize hockey, it forever changed how the NHL approached player safety and medical response. But if Clint Malarchuk's story wasn't shocking enough, the hockey world was reminded again years later that danger never truly leaves the ice. On February 10, 2008, during a game between the Florida Panthers and the Buffalo Sabres, forward Richard Zednik suffered one of the most terrifying moments in NHL history. While rushing toward the bench, he accidentally collided with teammate Olli Jokinen, whose skate blade cut Zednik's external carotid artery. The scene was chilling. Blood immediately began gushing as Zednik clutched his neck, desperately skating toward his team's bench. Trainers and doctors reacted instantly, applying pressure and rushing him to emergency care. The arena fell into stunned silence, with fans and players realizing they were witnessing something life-threatening. Thankfully, Zednik survived after emergency surgery, but the horrifying image stayed burned into the memory of hockey fans forever. Another brutal reminder of how fragile life can be in this sport. But Zednik wasn't the only one whose life was hanging by a thread after a freak accident. Just a few years earlier, in 2000, Montreal Canadiens forward Trent McCleary faced his own nightmare on the ice. While trying to do what every gritty player does, sacrifice his body for the team, he dropped down to block a slap shot against the Philadelphia Flyers. The puck struck him square in the throat with unbelievable force. Instantly, his windpipe collapsed, and he fell to the ice gasping for air, unable to breathe. Players frantically waved for help, and within seconds, doctors were rushing to perform an emergency tracheotomy that ultimately saved his life. McCleary survived after multiple surgeries, but his NHL career ended that night. The moment was so shocking because it showed that even the smallest act of bravery, blocking a shot, can suddenly turn into a fight for survival. If Trent McCleary's story showed how a single moment can end a career instantly, then Jiri Fischer's case proved how life itself can slip away in the middle of a game. On November 21, 2005, during a Detroit Red Wings match, Fischer suddenly collapsed on the bench after suffering a cardiac arrest. For a few terrifying minutes, the entire arena froze in silence as medical staff rushed to save him. His teammates and fans watched helplessly, fearing the worst. Paramedics used CPR and a defibrillator right there on the bench, bringing Fischer back to life. Although he survived, the event marked the abrupt end of his NHL career. Unlike others who were injured by pucks or sticks, Fischer's battle was against his own heart. His survival became one of the most miraculous moments in hockey history, reminding everyone that health is bigger than the game itself. Just when people thought such terrifying on-ice moments were rare and behind us, another one shook the hockey world in 2020. Jay Bouwmeester, a respected veteran defenseman for the St. Louis Blues, suddenly collapsed on the bench during a game against the Anaheim Ducks. It wasn't a collision or a hit, it was a cardiac episode that struck out of nowhere, leaving teammates, coaches, and fans in absolute shock. The entire arena fell silent as medical staff rushed to perform CPR and use a defibrillator right there behind the bench. His life was saved thanks to the immediate response and preparation of the medical team. Bouwmeester was later fitted with an implantable defibrillator, and although it marked the end of his NHL career, the incident reminded everyone how fragile life can be, even for elite athletes in peak condition. Trent McCleary and Jiri Fischer weren't the only ones whose careers were altered by sudden health emergencies. Chris Pronger also experienced a terrifying moment that left the hockey world in shock. In 1998, while playing for the St. Louis Blues during the playoffs, Pronger was struck in the chest by a slap shot. What looked like a routine play turned into a nightmare when he collapsed almost instantly on the ice. The puck had hit him in just the wrong spot, disrupting the rhythm of his heart and causing cardiac arrest. For several tense moments, fans and players alike watched in fear as medical staff rushed to his aid. Thankfully, Pronger regained consciousness quickly, but the incident was a chilling reminder of how fragile life can be in such a fast-paced, high-impact sport. Though he recovered and continued his career, that night became one of hockey's most unforgettable scares. Just as Pronger's story showed how a career could shift in a single moment, Brian Berard's experience in 2000 was another chilling reminder of hockey's risk. During a game against the Ottawa Senators, Berard was struck in the eye by an accidental high stick from Marian Hossa. The impact was devastating, leaving Berard with a detached retina and severe eye damage. Doctors feared he might never play again, as he was left legally blind in one eye. Yet, Berard refused to let that tragedy define him. After multiple surgeries and a long recovery, he made an inspiring return to the NHL, even winning the Bill Masterton Trophy in 2004 for his perseverance. His journey proved that resilience and determination could keep a player's spirit alive, even when their career seemed lost in a single blink of the eye. And just when fans thought they had seen enough heartbreak after Brian Berard's devastating eye injury, another story shook the hockey world. But this time, it wasn't about a collision or a puck to the face. It was about survival. In 2001, Montreal Canadiens captain Saku Koivu was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a form of cancer. The news stunned the league, as Koivu was not just a star player, but also a leader admired for his toughness and heart. Instead of battling on the ice, he found himself fighting for his life. Fans feared they would never see him play again. But Koivu shocked everyone when he returned at the end of the season to a thunderous standing ovation in Montreal. It was more than hockey. It was a symbol of resilience and hope. His comeback inspired millions, proving that some battles are far bigger than the game itself. After Koivu's battle for his life, hockey fans thought they had seen it all. But in 2014, the NHL world was shaken once again by another terrifying incident. This time, it was Rich Peverley of the Dallas Stars. During a regular season game, Peverley suddenly collapsed on the bench, going into cardiac arrest right in front of his teammates and coaches. The arena fell into silence as medical staff rushed to save him. For a few seconds, it felt like time had completely stopped. Players stood frozen in shock, unsure if they had just witnessed a tragedy. Thankfully, emergency doctors were able to revive him with a defibrillator and immediately rushed him to the hospital. Although Peverley wanted to return to the game, doctors told him his playing career was over. His collapse reminded the hockey world that sometimes the most dangerous battles happen off the ice. But sometimes it wasn't just sudden collapses during a game. It could be a horrifying accident that reminded everyone how fragile an athlete's life really is. One of the most shocking examples came in 2013 with Zach Redmond. During a Winnipeg Jets practice, a freak incident occurred when a teammate accidentally stepped on him with a skate. The blade cut deep into Redmond's thigh, severing his femoral artery, one of the body's main blood vessels. Within seconds, he was losing blood at an alarming rate, and teammates, trainers, and doctors rushed desperately to save him. Had help not arrived immediately, Redmond could have died right there on the ice. His case became one of the scariest reminders of how dangerous hockey can be, even outside actual games. Miraculously, after surgery and a long recovery, he returned to play, proving his resilience and determination. Just like Zach Redmond's sudden brush with death left fans shaken, Brian Boyle's story in 2017 showed a different kind of fight, one that began off the ice. During a routine training camp physical, Boyle was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia, a rare form of blood cancer. For many athletes, such news would have meant stepping away, but Boyle wasn't ready to give up the game he loved. Despite the terrifying diagnosis, he returned to the New Jersey Devils lineup just weeks later. Every time he hit the ice, fans could see the courage it took to skate, knowing what his body was going through. In one emotional moment, Boyle scored his first goal since the diagnosis and raised his arms to the crowd, a symbol of defiance and hope. His fight wasn't just about hockey. It was about showing that life's toughest battles can be faced head-on, with strength and resilience. Just like Boyle's courage inspired fans across the league, another young forward soon became a symbol of hope and strength. Oskar Lindblom in 2019. At only 23 years old, Lindblom was on his way to becoming one of the Philadelphia Flyers' brightest stars when he received life-changing news. He was diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer called Ewing's sarcoma. The announcement shocked his teammates, fans, and the entire NHL community. His season was immediately put on hold as he began an intense battle off the ice. Flyers fans rallied behind him, wearing Oscar-strong shirts and filling arenas with support. After months of treatment, he stunned the hockey world by returning to the lineup during the 2020 playoffs, just 9 months after his diagnosis. That emotional comeback showed the world that Lindblom was more than just a player. He was a fighter, and his story gave strength to anyone facing their own battles. Oscar Lindblom's courage was unforgettable. But another powerful story came in 2017 with Eddie Olczyk. Unlike many players, Eddie was already a respected hockey analyst and former NHL star when life threw him a curveball. He was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer. The news shook the hockey world because Eddie wasn't just a player of the past. He was still very much part of the game through his commentary and presence. What stood out most was how open and honest he was about his battle. Fans and players rallied behind him with endless support, showing the bond hockey creates beyond the ring. Eddie went through chemotherapy, sharing the ups and downs publicly, and eventually, he was declared cancer-free. His resilience wasn't just about fighting the disease, but about inspiring thousands who were dealing with the same struggle. After Eddie Olczyk's battle, another young talent faced a frightening diagnosis much earlier in his career. In 2006, just after being drafted 5th overall by the Boston Bruins, Phil Kessel was diagnosed with testicular cancer. The news shocked the hockey world because Kessel was only 19 years old and expected to become one of the NHL's brightest stars. Just days after the diagnosis, doctors acted quickly and performed surgery to remove the tumor. The procedure was successful, and Kessel's determination became immediately clear. He missed only 11 games before making an emotional return to the Bruins lineup, showing incredible resilience for someone so young. Kessel went on to build a long and productive career, winning 2 Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins. His battle at the very beginning of his NHL journey proved that toughness in hockey isn't just physical, it's also about courage. After Phil Kessel's inspiring battle with cancer, the story of David Ayres feels almost unreal, like something out of a movie. In February 2020, during a game between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Toronto Maple Leafs, both Hurricanes goalies got injured. That's when Ayres, a 42-year-old Zamboni driver and part-time practice goalie, was called in as the emergency backup. Think about it. A man who wasn't even a professional player suddenly had to step onto NHL ice in front of thousands of fans and millions watching at home. The pressure was overwhelming, yet Ayres stood tall, making 8 saves and helping Carolina secure a 6-3 win. What makes this story unforgettable is not just the victory, but the sheer courage of someone who was never supposed to be there. His debut wasn't planned, but it became legendary. Proof that sometimes the most unexpected heroes shine the brightest. While David Ayres' moment was built on surprise and inspiration, Brian Bickell's story was one of courage in the face of adversity. Drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks, Bickell became a vital role player, remembered for his clutch performances in the 2013 Stanley Cup playoffs, where his timely goals helped Chicago capture the championship. However, his career took a heartbreaking turn in 2016 when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, a disease that attacks the nervous system and affects balance, coordination, and strength. Despite this, Bickell refused to give up on the sport he loved. He made a brief but emotional return to the NHL with the Carolina Hurricanes, even scoring a shootout goal in his final game, leaving fans in tears. His determination to play, even with the odds stacked against him, made Bickell's farewell one of the most inspirational stories in hockey history. While Brian Bickell's battle showed courage in the face of illness, Mario Lemieux's story is one of defiance against impossible odds. Drafted 1st overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins in 1984, Lemieux quickly became one of the most gifted players the game has ever seen. His size, vision, and scoring touch made him unstoppable. Yet his career was never easy. In 1993, at the height of his dominance, Lemieux was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Many believed his career was over. But in one of hockey's most inspirational comebacks, he returned just weeks after radiation treatment and immediately scored, showing the world his resilience. Beyond health battles, Lemieux also saved the struggling Penguins franchise by stepping in as an owner, ensuring hockey remained in Pittsburgh. From overcoming cancer to carrying a team both on and off the ice, his legacy is not only about records and Stanley Cups, but about perseverance and leadership that inspired generations of fans. And there you have it, some of the most unforgettable NHL moments where real life hit harder than the game itself. These stories remind us that behind every jersey is a human being battling struggles we may never see. Which of these moments stuck with you the most? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that go beyond the ice.